Welcome back to the Grail Studios. We have the honour and privilege of Janine Castle joining us again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
What about we start with Earthmates? What are Earthmates?
Well, I've coined that term myself. So this is Janine's theory. So there's all different levels of connection in relationship. And I just want to start by acknowledging that, half the world in other countries have very basic needs in relationship. They have subsistence living, they work on farms, they live in villages, and relationships and marriage are just a very practical arrangement, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what works, that's what works. So if one family's growing carrots, the other family grows potatoes, it makes sense that they've got two young people who need to get married, and they combine families, combine forces. There's people that they get married for very, very basic reasons. That you've got a house, I don't have a house, let's get married. And it serves a purpose, a very practical purpose.
Yeah, right.
And good on them. Fantastic. And they often last a very long time. So they're not to be laughed at. So I call them earthmates. They serve an earthly purpose, and as we both know, you and I are into past life experiences. We've probably had 99% of our relationships in the past as earthmates. In the West, things are very different. We have all our basic needs met in many ways.
Yeah.
We often have places to live, we have food to eat. We don't have to find a relationship for practical reasons. Most of the time we can afford to pick somebody that's going to maximize our personal growth potential. And that's when we come across karmic relationships. And they're often our first relationship, a first serious, highly charged emotional relationship that we have. It's fraught with karmic dynamics. And you head into a karmic relationship sort of head on. It's a big sort of cataclysmic clash of souls. And it doesn't work all that well.
Yeah.
And we're left with a lot of turmoil. We're left with a lot of emotional charge. We go, why is this happening? And we've all had those experiences where we just meet someone and bang, it's on.
Yeah.
And you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is not good for me.
This
isn't good. Why am I doing it?
You can see it's not good, but it's so intoxicating and so overwhelmingly
So much
inviting.
energy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. And I think the laws of karma have to create some sort of fatal attraction situation so that you will comply with the game.
Yes.
So that you will learn what you have to learn.
That's
and
it.
like I said, it is one of your first relationships. It can be quite damaging.
Yeah.
Have you had something like that happen?
I've had many of those types of relationships in this life and past lives. In fact, it seems to be a recurring lesson for me. And that's interesting because that's the karmic side of it, isn't it?
That's the karmic side. Karma means work.
Yeah.
So it's hard work. Karmic relationships are hard work, and you got to work hard to be free of them. I'm not convinced you can ever resolve them. And I know when I had a karmic relationship, when I first met that person, it was, here we go sort of feeling. I'm stuck here and I can't get out. And I had to resolve it by saying, this can't be resolved.
Yeah.
And that is the resolution.
That's amazing, yeah. So that was the lesson.
If you can look at it like a karmic lesson, I've learnt my lesson, I've got what I need, now I have to walk away and say, I'm not going to win this one.
Yeah, and it can be resolved. I love that.
Can't be resolved.
That's a really nice way to look at it, because then you're not struggling with it for years. You're going, well, that was the lesson.
At that point where you think, this won't resolve, I've finished with this. That is the point where you step out of your karma.
Yeah.
And you look at the karmic dilemma, but you are not of the karma.
Yeah.
You're a witness.
Yeah.
At that point, you become a witness of the karma, and you say to yourself, do I need that anymore or do I not? And hopefully by the time you've become the witness, you don't need it. And you go, well, that wouldn't be good for me if I stayed in this. And I think I've pretty much had enough now. Thank you very much. And I'll be moving on. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
And I like to use the term complete. So the next level of connection that we have is a soulmate connection. And these are often the long-term relationships. You know, the marriages that work. We might meet that person and there's a real familiarity with them. Like, I know you, you know me, we're kin, we're family, we understand each other. And there's a strong complementary force there. You know, like it's like, you know, you're 6'2", I'm 5'2". It's complementary. There's often a strong desire to reproduce as well. So there's often children associated with soulmate connections, and they can work really, really well. And I think we should all aspire to having those relationships and understanding that two souls that are highly compatible are a complementary fit, like a jigsaw.
So would you say that soulmate relationship is a sort of a comfort zone? Is it? Does it not have the intensity of connection, or what we think is connection is the previous one, the
Karmic.
Yeah, the karmic relationship.
I think you could probably have both. I think there's a lot of excitement to be had around meeting your soulmate.
Yeah.
It's very, very exciting because the whole world can open up to you. Like, what can we do in life? We could do amazing things together.
Yeah.
You know, there's that instant feeling of we could create a life together. And it's right, and it's in the right timing, and we understand each other. You may fight, and that's perfectly natural, but you're two souls that are on the same frequency, and you're supposed to be together.
So the connection, would you say, is that if you have a deficit in something, they'll have the opposite empowerment in that?
Yeah, you're helping each other.
Yeah.
It's you know, life can be a lot easier if you can work with your soulmate.
Yeah.
They've got a lot to bring to the table.
Yeah.
You have to surrender to that. They aren't the same as you, but you're highly compatible, and there's a comfort there.
Yeah.
And I guess coming back to your original question, is there enough attraction there? Of course. That attraction for some people is sexual. That attraction for other people is a family connection, or some it's material. You know, some of the great relationships in history, Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, one from Egypt, one from Italy or Rome, different cultures came together, two leaders, very complementary, created an empire together and had children.
Yeah, right.
You know, they probably spoke different languages. I don't
Chalk
know
and cheese, but together they were an amazing
together they
combination.
were a force of nature.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of those around. You know, even you know, tradesmen that you know, marry a hairdresser. Both tradespeople, their hairdresser female companion ends up doing the tradies' bookwork, and then they create a tradesman empire together. You know, they're complementary forces.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's the soulmate.
Makes life easier, I think, with your soulmate.
And are they? And how do you think soulmates are as parents, and with that nice secure environment?
Well, I think children want opposite energies.
Yeah.
You know, children come into the world going, well, what's the point of having, you know, two parents who are the same?
Yeah.
There's no point in that. I need two very different energies to keep me safe.
Yeah. That polarity, so they can have the
polarity is what children really like.
Yeah.
They like one parent being extroverted and one introverted. But together it creates safety.
Right.
And harmony
Brings
in the
whole
home.
Yeah.
So I think there can be a lot of sexual charge with soulmates who are supposed to produce children. And children love it. Children love having parents who are soulmates. That's the most fertile combination.
Yeah.
You know, and we know that O blood groups and A blood groups are sexually attracted to each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. O and A.
Well, they're the two most common ones.
And if you mix them together, what's the genealogy of the children, or the blood group of the children?
Well, the kids can be one or the other, and rarely it could be, an A or an AB. It's a complex area, but we know that genetically two very different people have a strong chemistry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Opposites attract. So that's soulmate. So we've gone from the karmic turmoilic relationships to the secure soulmate compatibility relationships that can last a long time and have a lot of strength. There's no set rule, is there?
No,
there's no set.
You could have a short soulmate relationship and you just didn't play your cards right.
Or you could be thinking, oh, this is my soulmate, but it's actually a karmic one, and you're back into the turmoil.
Yeah, you're like, what's all this drama about? So there's definitely a lot less drama with a soulmate connection, because I think it works.
Yeah. And
it's supposed to work, but we're not perfect. So there's going to be struggles in a soulmate experience as well.
There's always going to be lessons, and that's the beautiful thing about relationships, isn't it? That you're always going to have your stuff come up, and it's an opportunity to learn lessons about yourself and to grow.
Yeah.
Hopefully as a couple, but at least learn about yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and so we've talked about the karmic relationship, which is fascinating, and we've talked about the earthmate relationship, which is a phrase you've coined, which I love. It's an interesting reflection of the Western versus the Eastern way of relating.
Yeah, well, even our grandparents and great-grandparents had those relationships. Early migrants going to foreign lands, they needed each other.
Yeah,
to survive.
Yeah. And now we live in overabundance where, we're
not in survival anymore, so we're not looking for earthmates.
Yeah.
We've progressed on.
So we've gone from earthmates to karmic lessons through relationships, to soulmates where you have some potential for longevity and secure relating and functioning and building of empires, and there's no magic thing that identifies that. You'll just know as you move into it.
Yeah, you just know. A lot of people ask that question, don't they? How do I know if I met my soulmate? You just know.
Yeah.
And it's a space of having no doubt.
Right.
So if there's no doubt, it's your soulmate.
Yeah, I like that.
But it may not necessarily be forever. I can see there's a strong push to create in soulmate attractions, whether that's children, empires, materialism, or whatever. If that urge to create completes itself, the relationship is complete.
Right. So it's almost like there's a purpose beyond the relationship.
I think so.
That they need to fulfill.
I think so.
And then the last type we were going to discuss is twin flames, which is an overly misinterpreted and misused terminology that's been thrown around a lot. And Janine, can you shed a bit of light on what twin flames really is and what it means?
Well, I was very interested in this subject when it first came about, when the term was first coined in a book called Twin Flame and Soulmate in 1999. And I remember reading that going, oh, that's interesting. Two different concepts here emerging. And that was written by Elizabeth Prophet. She wrote that book. And then Dolores Cannon, who did a lot of work on regression therapy, took up this concept, and she didn't prove it, but she certainly confirmed that this indeed was happening. So because this term twin flame has really only been in our lives for about 25 years, I'm assuming that it wasn't really something that happened very much in the past, and it may be that it's come forward at this point in our human evolution.
Interesting.
And it's only really happening now. Otherwise, it'd be well documented in the past. In saying that, apparently in ancient Greece, they used to have statues with two faces and two bodies. And they said that the original soul had male and female. Now, I don't know if the ancient Greeks were trying to tell us something there. And apparently Zeus got rid of this concept because he found that someone with two selves, male and female, was too powerful. So he got rid of them and split them.
Okay.
So we're really not sure if the ancient Greeks were trying to tell us something there or not. But regardless, the concept of twin flames has really only been around for a short period of time. And all of a sudden, lots of people are claiming they're having twin flame experiences. So what does it mean? A twin flame is when you meet somebody and they are the same soul as you. So there's one soul in two bodies. This is a far out concept.
Yeah.
But you just have to listen to people's stories. And that's what I've done. I've listened to a lot of people's stories on twin flames. It's completely fascinating. And so what's the difference? You've got two souls with soulmates. And then you've got one soul split into two bodies. They're both having relationships. Well, the difference is that in a twin flame relationship, it's a mirror. You're mirroring yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of charge, but you're not dealing with a separate person. You're dealing with you. So imagine having a relationship with you.
Yeah.
It's
like a female version of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it could be male. It's not always gender specific.
Okay.
It can be, two brothers, or it can be work colleagues, but usually it's a male-female relationship, and it is a very magnetic one. Obviously, if you meet the other part of you, there's something utterly fascinating about that. And you want to get to know that person because they've had a different life. And often they're from different cultures, different ages, somewhere really randomly different.
Yeah.
There are twin flame cases where they don't even speak the same language.
Right. Yeah.
It's a real wild card. And when you meet them, it's definitely very intense. It's who are you? There's a real mystery about that. Who are you? And what are you doing in my life?
Yeah.
And then there's a well-documented set of stages that people go through in the relationship, and those stages have different names. So there's 8 stages. There's the meeting, getting to know someone, blah blah blah. There's a well-known stage in that process called the runner and the chased, or something like that. The runner and the chase. So at some point it cooks up to the point where both parties can't handle it. It's just too intense.
Right.
And one runs away.
Right.
And one chases, the other one says, come back.
Right.
And then there's a period of avoidance. And then in the ones that resolve, and they don't always resolve, in that split, they can often go back into their own lives and never meet again. But if they continue the journey and continue to grow, they come back together in unison and become a relationship, and it works. There's a guy on YouTube that I listen to, and he is in a marriage with his twin flame, and somebody asked him, what's it like? He said, it's very, very quiet. He says, we don't fight.
Yeah.
We're just on the same frequency.
Yeah, right.
And there's a whole lot of love there.
Yeah.
So I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. There's not a lot of fighting. He went through a very intense time for a couple of years. And then they worked through what they had to work through, and they're just together now.
Yeah, right.
So in the scheme of different levels of connection in relationship, I think the twin flame relationship is very rare.
Yeah.
If you are privileged to have a twin flame in your life, then it's very special, and it's to be treated very, very carefully. it has a reputation for appearing in very inconvenient times. So somebody could be married, or somebody could be on one side of the earth, and they meet their twin flame, and then it's like, oh my goodness, why is this happening? So there's a lot to work through before a twin flame can be together.
Yeah.
But their spiritual rewards are the ultimate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's like dessert. So if you've been through your earth mate, your karmic mate,
Yeah.
your soulmate, you may, if you're very, very lucky, get to your twin flame.
Right.
And you don't get to choose it. You don't go, oh, I'd like to meet a twin flame. No. The universe says, I'll be the decider of whether you meet your twin flame or not. Because it's quite random.
Whether you've learnt all your lessons with your...
Are you ready for this?
If they're able to stay together and they get through the 8 stages and the running away and the coming back and they find balance and harmony, what sort of life do they have after that?
A peaceful one.
Yeah, right.
Imagine that. Now looking at you, you're thinking, I don't want that.
I don't know. It sounds
something more interesting than that.
I don't know. It sounds pretty peaceful. Sounds pretty good to me.
Oh, does it? Yeah. Well, peaceful's not always attractive to people, is it? If you've got lots of karmic stuff to work out, why would you choose peace? You go, oh no, boring.
Yeah.
So I think the twin flame relationships that are functional are not for everybody. Who wants to live in quietness and peace? Not that many people.
Well,
they
true.
create a lot of drama because they think drama's sexy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I think you need to have gone around the block 100 times before you understand the value of a twin flame connection and the peace and the love that it brings.
It's an interesting concept. The twin flame is one soul that's been divided, because it sort of, to me, reminds me of this, this initial disconnection from source that we have, where we're constantly looking to reconnect to source, and that sort of drives us looking for relationships to fulfill that. And this is a new concept. Like I said, it's 20 years old, where the soul has gone through all of the challenges and lessons and splits. And then
I know it was always split.
It was always split.
It was always split. And that is why the individual...
that makes sense now.
The individual parties of the twin flame can always feel like something's missing, like a twin.
Right.
That's why it's called twin flames, because where's my other half? You don't go, oh, I wish I could meet my twin flame. I want them to be like this, and this.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't work that way. Yeah.
They could be short, unattractive, speaking a foreign language. There could be all sorts of things that are just so not convenient. There's one woman that I follow on YouTube, and she's Scandinavian, and she's married with 2 kids, and she met her twin flame in a hotel room somewhere or a hotel lobby area. And he's Muslim. So he's from one of the Arabic nations. Yeah. Different religion, different culture. I think they hardly speak.
Yeah, right.
And the journey started.
Yeah, right.
And so, for her, it's been very, very difficult. She's had to explain it to her husband. He was married with kids, etc., etc. So, but she does say that ever since she met this man, her life has been just extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Isn't that interesting? They hardly even speak.
Well, they don't know the same language. They just know what's going on. And they speak now about being twin flames.
Wow.
But she didn't wish that on herself.
So she was already married and he was already married?
Yeah, she claims she's married to her soulmate. Very interesting stories.
And you were saying there were 8 stages of the twin flame. So there's that meeting, there's the running away.
Yeah, running away is in the middle.
Yeah.
It's a bit like 2 North Pole magnets, that haven't sort of...
They haven't been switched the right way to attract each other.
Way and they repel each other.
Yeah.
There's often a period of absence at that time.
Yeah.
There's a big fight and then they don't see each other and then one chases the other and it's all very, very sticky, and that's a big hurdle. That is the great spiritual challenge of the twin flame, is to get through that part where one person's running and one's chasing, and to let go and surrender. So, the wisdom there is, if you're in one of those relationships, you have to surrender and come back to the basis of understanding twin flames, and that is, you are the same person. You are the same person in different bodies, different experiences. And if you can just relax into that and go, oh, well, she's just run away. I know what she's doing. She's just running away. I've got to stop chasing. I'm going to let her go and do her thing, because we are as one. And we always will be as one. So there's no rejection involved. You can never reject your twin flame. So the whole key is to just stop and relax and accept and let them do whatever they have to do. And in theory, they'll be back.
Yeah, right. Maybe
that's very, very challenging for someone that's experienced such intense intimacy on a soul level. And if you think about meeting another Justin and how intimate that would be and how connected that would be, that's next level.
Yeah, it would be.
And then if they just suddenly disappear, you go, where have they gone?
Yeah.
Where have they gone? How could they leave me? We were just warming up. We were just getting to know each other, and they left me. It's out of fear.
Right, I see, and that's interesting. That's making sense now, how the twin flame thing's getting taken out of context, because you could see how that could easily switch back into the karmic relationships of turmoil, but it's on a different level.
Yeah. This is just too full on.
This is a meeting of yourself.
And one person's not going to cope with that. The other person might cope fine. One person goes, I'm out of here. This is just hotted up too much for me.
So at that critical point when you're going, how could they leave me, and you're feeling like you're missing the other half of yourself, how can you differentiate that between a karmic relationships turmoil of the I'm feeling abandoned and this is my wound that I need to karmically heal?
Yeah. I think when you meet a karmic relationship partner, it's complete chaos and you don't know who they are and what they're doing, and they're a total mystery to you.
Yeah.
With a twin flame drama, you have to understand that they're doing what you do.
Right.
And they're mirroring what you do.
Right.
They're just doing it at a different point in time. So you have to forgive them because they're just doing what you do. That's the whole mirror concept. You're behaving the way I behave. Maybe we should stop that.
Yeah,
together.
Right. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And then we sink in together and we learn about ourselves together. The final holy grail experience of a twin flame union is called union.
Right.
So the 8th stage is union.
Right. So it's not a short process.
It's not short.
It's not like I found my twin flame, everything's daisies.
Off we go.
It's not daisies?
No.
Turmoil?
No. There is, some people when they meet their twin flame, it's very quick to go on fire. And some people just can't handle that. Sometimes it's very slow. And slow ones are probably the safer ones.
Okay, yeah. And you said sometimes the twin flames won't actually come back together because...
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
But I think it's the ultimate spiritual test in relationships if you do meet your twin flame. It's the ultimate. It doesn't really get better than that. I mean, that feeling of I've met myself is the only thing close to that is to being in heaven.
Yeah.
And I know meditators will say that they've found the self, but there's a whole lot of souls out there that are only half their soul. They're only experiencing half their soul. And there's always a yearning, There's always, I just feel like I haven't found myself. And I can't. There's a feeling like something's missing. And it doesn't matter how much spiritual growth you do, there's something missing. Until you find that person, it's like eating spiritual chocolate. It's very addictive. And even just 10 minutes of that, if you listen to people's stories, 10 minutes of that is enough to send them insane for a period of time.
Really?
Because they want it. If you meet your other half for 10 minutes, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life.
Wow, sounds amazing. I don't think I've experienced that, but I have experienced that yearning for, like, and I think most people experience that feeling. It's like a yearning for the missing half of yourself, and a lot of spiritual seekers, will connect to source. Sometimes even renounce relationships in the pursuit of that, and fill their missing half with source as the connection. And that's kind of romantic and beautiful to think that that there's a new way to do that, and if you are the same person, you could still, if you're spiritually inclined, perhaps connect with source with 10 times the power.
Yeah. It's a bit like nuclear fusion.
Yeah, okay, it sounds amazing.
Like you get two atoms combining and a bomb can go off. I mean, it seems, if you like karmic relationships and earth relationships, it seems totally bizarre and ridiculous. Why would you want that? And if it happened to you, why would you walk that path? But if you're ready for it, although no one's ever quite ready for it, but if the universe thinks you're ready for it, it can be the hugest thing that's ever happened to you.
Do you think once you've settled through the stages and you've hit union, do you think that relieves all of those lessons, those karmic lessons, and those recurring lessons?
I think it's probably the closest experience to being on the other side as you can have on the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. So and it may or may not be sexually charged. It's not necessarily about that.
Yeah.
It's next level beyond the physical.
So it would be, would you say that would be real completeness?
Complete. Yeah, complete. Not just compatible, but complete. That's really the perfect word. And this experience of union, like I said, is the ultimate. So it's good to listen to people who've experienced that. It's quite something.
Yeah, it's definitely something to research properly and to look at and understand, because it is one of those terms that's often misused, or people are mislabeled and are still in the karmic lesson phase.
And there's a chronology to this. It could be here in the West, we have teenage love, which could be like earthly relationship, where you've got the same bike as I've got now. Let's go out together, that sort of thing. And then, as a young adult here in the West, you might have some karmic relationships in your 20s. They're all really, really crazy and mad and confusing and painful, and you're rejected and you're jealous and you're all these wild things. And then you have soulmate experiences, let's say in your 30s and 40s, and then you may or may not end it there. You may have a few soulmate connections, and I think in Elizabeth Prophet's book From Memory, she says you have 4 or 5 different soulmates that you may or may not encounter. So there's more than one to be had.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you are a very rare bird, you may have a twin flame experience if you've dealt with all that appropriately.
Very good. All right.
What do you reckon?
I reckon that's awesome.
You ready?
Well, I'm open. I'm open to the
Good
idea.
answer.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'm quite happy being peaceful with myself for the time being.
Good answer. Good answer.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. And
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here
having
again.
a chat. It's been great.
Okay. See ya.
See ya. Now, let's have a look behind the curtain again. What's there today? Oh, we've got a whole bunch of amazing instruments.
Look at that.
There you go. The magic curtain's been revealed.